Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. This week's video is actually a really nice change to the usual stuff that I put out. I'm bringing you a video from my coach Phil Ellison, who I've been with for just over 2 years now. Now this isn't the first video that we've done together. He did pop up on the channel a little while ago where we did a collaboration video where it was an opportunity for you to find out and meet my coach and learn about some of his coaching principles and methods and why I chose to work with him. So that video was some time ago, and Phil was working within a larger triathlon coaching organisation, and of course I was an athlete in his group and representing that team. The main points of that video was to try and help other age group athletes out there who may have been in a similar position to what I was, you know, if you're thinking about getting a coach, who to go with, where to look, all those kind of things. Really, that's the main purpose of this channel. It's here to help others. That's its main goal. I'm not here to gain thousands of subscribers and that kind of thing, to make money from it. Yes, that would be a lovely thing, but that's not the main purpose of it. For me, this is all a bit of fun. And what's really nice from that video that we did together was we had new members join the group from stumbling across that video, and therefore it shows me that, you know, it serves the purpose of this channel. Now, we decided to provide an update to that video because, as I said, Phil decided to move on from that coaching company and set up his own one, and I believe all his clients chose to move with him, which I think speaks volumes, you know, for his coaching methods, and you can probably deduce why the group chose to go with him. Now, this video does have a slightly different viewpoint. Obviously, the coaching angle and his principles are the same, and you can go back and watch that previous video that we did if you want to find out about those. However, this video is there, I suppose, to share some of the updates and really unpick why Phil decided to start up with his new company, which is called Adapted Endurance, and really what his new community is all about. Also, do stick around to the end of this video because I'm going to share with you his promo to his website that we've also been working on. Right, let's get to that video. Hi Phil, welcome back to the channel. It's good to have you on again, buddy. So thanks for, you know, taking the time to do this with me. I think it's fair to say that we, or should I say you've had some big changes to the coaching setup your end, and I suppose for us athletes, there is, you know, it's been very little change really, apart from who we're representing and I suppose the kit that we race in. So what I wanted to do was find out a little bit about what's gone on since the last time we spoke on the channel. Let's start off by asking you to, I suppose, introduce your new company, give us a little bit of information on what it's about, what it offers, because to me it isn't just about triathlon, and I think, you know, it'd be a good way to share that vision with the viewers.
Yeah, cheers, Danny. It's been a long time since we had a chat, but as you know, there's been a hell of a lot going on, and it's well, personally, it's really, really exciting, and I'm hoping that the athletes that I work with finding it, you know, quite exciting as well. Yeah, going back a couple of years now, I think it's almost 2 years since I went into full-time triathlon coaching. I think probably when we last spoke, I was still working as a physio in the NHS as well.
Yeah.
I think it was February of 22. I last worked in the NHS, and since that point, it's allowed me to focus fully on the triathlon coaching, and yeah, built my group of athletes up to between 35 and 40 clients. Also, you know, been spending some time away on camp. Been lucky enough, obviously, as a full-time coach now, you can afford to indulge yourself a little and go abroad a little bit more.
I must say I'm very jealous of those.
It's a massive perk, isn't it? You know, to be able to go abroad for a week or two every year and call it work, and and also, you know, it's very much a perk of being able to indulge yourself in the triathlon lifestyle. And yeah, last year was Lanzarote and Mallorca. Both camps, you know, really well received. Mallorca obviously is just an absolute cycling mecca, just somewhere that's unbelievable to ride your bike.
Yeah, it's lovely. Yeah.
And then my own racing took a bit of a backseat obviously focusing more on the coaching now. But I was still lucky enough to race some sprint races and a middle distance or two, and qualify for the Sprint World Champs in Malaga for next year. So that's kind of already penciled in.
Yeah.
So
As you
although
do.
yeah, it's not a bad way, just to keep your hand in and still qualify for something. It makes the season feel like it was very worthwhile as well. But yeah, I engage much more in the social aspects of racing. As you know, we try to bring some of the athletes together a bit more often, provide them with some smaller local distance races to try, rather than getting too hooked up on these big massive events every year. And they went down very well, as you know.
They were really good to meet some of the other team, and people that you've not seen before, and
yeah,
really good
yeah.
experience.
And I personally enjoyed that, meeting up with people I haven't seen for a long time, because I get carried away with these huge events like Ironman and the other qualification races. But just to go back to some of the local race providers and meet up with people I hadn't seen for a long time was really, really, really nice to do. And obviously that's allowed me time in my schedule, not having to train quite so much, and building the coaching side of things to develop a new brand as well. And the triathlon coaching will now be aligned with that as well, so that it's kind of an endurance sports angle to the health and lifestyle brand that we've started, which is called Adapted. New cap is there as well, as I know you've got one as well.
I have got mine. It's just here.
So we've obviously rebranded as Adapted, and that is a wider vision where we're looking to bring so-called lifestyle medicine to the masses. Really, we're looking to take that to people who are not particularly sporty, not that driven, and not that that motivated to perform and to actually race people or to prove anything in the sporting arena, but would still benefit from some very simple lifestyle and environmental manipulation, which is what that company's all about. So yeah, it's allowing me to bring the two together. And it's as I say, it's massively kind of exciting for me at the moment. It's the first time I've ever done this sort of thing, and hopefully the guys that I take along for that ride will really enjoy it as well.
I'm sure they will. Right, we'll come back to the wider brand a bit later on, but let's stay on the triathlon theme, I think, firstly. So what's the response been like, from your team, your colleagues, your family? Give us a little bit of a flavor from that sort of perspective.
Yeah, I was probably, I don't know, is it 2 or 3 months ago since I decided to leave the bigger triathlon organization that I was working with at the time. And the move was, it was quite daunting. It's a little made me quite nervous. You're putting yourself out there to be judged.
Yeah.
But the response was literally overwhelming. I couldn't have asked for more vindication that I'd made the right move by just the amount of support from my clients, people like yourself who back me and trusted me to continue to coach them and have moved around with me, but also from friends and friends of friends who just reached out on social media to say they thought I was making a good move and it would be very beneficial for the future. As far as like my family's concerned, they could see that some of my core values and the thoughts and philosophies I have around training weren't quite matching with the company that I was working with, and therefore they could see sometimes I was feeling a little bit torn as to what decision to make, and wasn't really sort of thriving in that environment. And so they obviously back me. They want my best interests to be upheld, and so they backed me to go for it. And so very nerve-wracking.
And I mean, I suppose once you've got that support in place, it does give you the confidence and the backing to take quite a courageous step. I mean, it obviously takes guts, because ultimately, what you're doing is your livelihood, and a big decision to make that, I suppose, will affect your family as well. So
and with hindsight, I could have been unlucky and it could have gone a different way, but no, it's been very rewarding so far as well. And it's just you feel good, you feel the love of the people who have supported you, and there's nothing like that really. It feels absolutely amazing to be backed by other people, and I'm hoping that I can repay that every day that I work with them. I really hope that I can repay that that trust that they've shown in me.
Yeah, I mean, all right. So let's take it. Let's think about the future. Let's think about 2 or 3 years down the line. Where do you see all this going? What do you hope to achieve?
Yeah, From the triathlon coaching, side of things, and not thinking about like the wider business, I just need to keep doing what I do. I think I've developed as a coach over the last 5 or 6 years. Originally, like a lot of people, you're driven towards the science and the stats and the analyzing data and writing, very intricate training programs. And I don't get me wrong, I still enjoy that. But I think as you go along the journey, you realize how important relationships are and people. And so I just need to, if I've had the backing of kind of all 40 of my clients as I've moved away from a bigger organization, I need to realize that there must be things that I'm doing right. And personally, I think a lot of that is just, treating people like human beings and putting them first in every decision I make. It's with that person's best interest at heart, really. I think if I can hold on to that and never allow that to be, pushed it to the sidelines or taking a backseat for other decisions, business decisions and other things, then I can't see how things can't continue to work very well in triathlon. I think with the wider brand, obviously Adapted is going to be much more of a mass market appeal for people, hopefully. And again, we can talk about that in a little bit more detail later, but I don't know where that will, I mean, that's the kind of exciting thing.
Yeah,
I don't know where that will. Yeah, God knows where it's going to end up. I think there's going to be some corporate well-being sort of speaking that I'll do.
Right.
There's community sort of angles to set up and encourage people
I suppose at this point you've probably got lots of ideas. It's just about what ones you take forward and what you, and I suppose prioritizing which you do. Yes, that's a lot to think about. I think your end.
So many ideas and not enough time to actually sort of act on them all. I've got a notepad that's full of ridiculous amounts of information and ideas and stuff. And
you're not waking up in the middle of the night, Phil, and going, "Oh, I've got an idea," and a notepad, writing it down, sort of thing.
No, I haven't, but that's because I'm absolutely relying on this notepad and my notes in my phone. I just literally have to make a note of everything that comes into my head and every sort of phone call I've said I'd make and the people I said I'd get back to with some advice about something. I just have to make note on note on note. And then, look, I mean, this is actually another part of the adapted thing is when we talk about sleep and sleep hygiene.
Yeah.
If you do offload a lot of the stuff from your brain onto paper, that could be journaling, reflecting on the day. It could be quite a formal thing that you do, or it could just be organizing your thoughts down onto paper before you go to bed.
It's just the way of managing it, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay.
But right now, I'm so happy with where I am. It's the first time I think in my life where I feel like I'm where I'm supposed to be, and it's kind of took me perhaps 45 years to get to this point. So I'm kind of the happiest I've ever been.
Good. Yeah, it's good start, I think, and hopefully it continues in that manner and it is successful. And in 2-3 years' time, you've got lots of other arms that you're sort of taking on and tackling. Now, you just going back a bit. Now, you mentioned earlier that the squad is now 40 odd strong, which it's a big group. From an athlete perspective, there are some. For me, there are some like real standout features that exist. I don't know if you'd call it that, but let's just say that there's things that you don't necessarily realize that you're going to gain and experience as an athlete and a member of your community. So for me, one of the standout things is the community, the community that you fostered, the team that we have around us. That's really, really great. And we have access to you whenever we want. Obviously there's reasons we're not phoning you up at 3 a.m. and that sort of thing. But I know that community is important to you. But I wondered if you could touch on a few of those points and give us some more insight into the benefits and the things that we don't necessarily see that we may actually gain from being part of Adapted.
Yeah. I think that's a great part of it. I kind of probably alluded to it in one of the last answers I gave you, but I think when people are looking for coaching and when they're looking to improve in a sport and make the most of the time that they've got available, it's so easy to focus on the plan, the training plan, the nuts and bolts of how many sessions a week and how many days per week am I training, how many hours, how much of this, do I do strength and conditioning as well, and et cetera. But the plan, everybody needs a plan, but the plan is almost useless as soon as we put it into action because people then start to interact with the world. They interact with the training, and they interact with other people, and then the family and the work and everything else, and things start to get in the way. So as much as we need a plan, coaching is all about relationships, and at the heart of that is people. And I mentioned before that triathlon coaching it's a people business. You have to treat people well, and you have to look after them, and you have to have their best interest at heart. So my kind of philosophy underlying all of my coaching is that people come first, and it's a holistic approach, I suppose. So it is linked to the health and well-being of people, and hoping that they want to stay in triathlon for the longer term. I mean, obviously that, it kind of makes sense for me with a coaching business to keep people engaged for season, after season. But I really do truly believe that triathlon is a very healthy lifestyle for the majority. But it's only healthy as long as we continue to do it. So, I will never ask people to make short-term sacrifices that they're not, prepared to make, and also that there aren't really in their best interests. Right. I think there's what, a couple of lessons from being a physio, and one is that, on paper, treating somebody's dodgy knee or, Achilles problem is quite easy on paper. The rehab, the loading programs, the way that you deal with that, it's fairly easy as far as we look at protocols and things. The problem is that every person that comes through the door has an Achilles or a dodgy knee that's attached to a brain. And as soon as you attach one of these to a brain, the whole world changes. And therefore we need to respect that everybody's an individual. And if you just apply plans and protocols, obviously some people will succeed, some people will thrive because you've got it just about right for them. But the downside is that you're not really treating the person individually and helping them get the most out of it. So, we realize that in physiotherapy, that you've got to treat people and their concerns, and, treat them to their availability of time and facilities and everything else. So that's really key, I think, to underpinning, where I come at triathlon from.
I mean, there's some interesting points there. I mean, I'm going back to the athlete perspective. I think the education that you give, along with everything that you offer in terms of the coaching, is something that you don't necessarily see or realize that you get. But that's certainly something I've learned, being with you the last 2 years, is all the education that comes with it. Understanding why we're doing something, not necessarily beating ourselves up if we can't complete it or manage that, and looking that we can always reevaluate, we can always readjust. And I think, having someone there to guide you on that, getting back to the right track. And you will know, you will know from when I've had crap races or, poor performance, you've been on there on the end of the phone. And it's certainly, to me, it's certainly another additional benefit to being, part of, adaptive and the rest of the group.
Yeah. The education side, again, it depends what that individual wants, and I don't try to feed back to people in the same way. Some people don't need to know about the numbers.
Exactly, but then I think it comes back to knowing your clients, knowing what they want and what it is that they need.
Definitely, that's one of my key underpinning things, is that if you're trying to motivate somebody and help them remain consistent and help them keep hitting certain sessions, not even just the most difficult sessions, some could be the very easy sessions, some of the mundane things, the very simple things where we're tempted to go a bit overboard and do too much, or miss them because we don't see the value in them. If somebody has given you a nice clear explanation as to how that fits into your week and also to your development as an athlete and as a person, then you're more likely to actually sort of commit to it, get it done, and perhaps even enjoy it.
Sure. Okay, if we move to, I know we've covered a lot on the triathlon side. Tell us a little bit more about what it is. We know there's the endurance part, but we want to understand all the other bits and how that's related to some of the triathlon coaching. And if we can explore some of those aspects and tell us a little bit about that, that'd be great.
Yeah, so I mean, God, I could probably talk all day about this because it is a real passion at the moment. And again, it's nice to be able to sort of set up a business which is still, developing a passion, and it is that project that you feel grateful to be able to get stuck into. The Adapted came about from this experience of cold water dipping, and that little window into how your body can be stimulated and your mind by just experiencing something that's connecting with nature perhaps, and it's, you know, it's stimulating a lot of things to go on within your body that you weren't quite expecting and you've never felt before. And that opens your eyes into this world. And then, you know, knowing me, I've got to research it and start to listen to the most eminent people in that area and start to develop, well, what else can be done, and how can we do different things, and where can we manipulate things. And that leads to this concept of like lifestyle medicine. How can we manipulate our lifestyle and our environment to live healthier, you know, live happier, and ultimately probably live longer as well. And so for me, it's what I'm trying to do is combine a lot of knowledge from evolution, you know, what the hunter-gatherer tribes would do, how they would live, how they would move, how they would eat, how they would sleep, and use that as kind of a basis to how we're evolved. And then also look at now, luckily, using a lot of the scientific research that we've now got and the evidence that we've got to actually, you know, give us proof and give us some backing for these things that we could be doing every day. And so we're bringing them together, really. We're bringing knowledge of how we're evolved to live with the scientific research, which shows us that, yeah, some of these things would really be beneficial if we did them, you know, a little bit more often.
Yeah. So we're talking things like, you know, healthy eating, nature, sleep, emotional well-being, those kind of things.
Yeah, as you know, we identified 5 pillars, because when you're trying to get the message across, it's nice to break it down into little sort of bite-sized chunks. So, you know, you're likely, you've seen a lot of these messages on social media. You know, you've got various influencers and obviously people marketing things, and you get bombarded with, you should do this and buy this and try this, and it can be overwhelming, and you get that, I think it's referred to as data days, or like an inaction that comes through having too much information, or an information overload. And what we're going to do is break that down and make it very manageable, make it enjoyable, build community around it again, so people are more likely to try it and to do it and have support. And that message is really quite clear, is that our rate of technological development, you know, as a like human beings in the last 100 years or so, we've invented and developed and progressed so quickly. We've actually done ourselves quite a disservice. We've now managed to engineer a lot of movement, a lot of healthy eating, a lot of quality sleep. We've managed to engineer it out of our lives for the sake of other things. And it's really difficult now. We've got to actually look hard to find that, you know, connection with nature again, and connection with what we should be doing perhaps to be healthy and happy.
Right, so I know that you mentioned earlier on that you like a cold bath or a dip, and I know that Team Bin Juice is well alive and truly kicking. And I have to add that, you know, I've started on this journey as well. There's, you know, videos are pending on that. They're coming out in the next couple of weeks or so. So I take it the cold therapy fits into the nature category. Am I right in thinking that?
Yeah. So as you know, we identified 5 pillars that we were going to get the message across through using, and one of those pillars is nature. The most, I think at the moment, the most well-known, certainly the one that's getting a lot of attention, you know, because of the exploits of Wim Hof, and perhaps some of the social media sort of influencers, is cold water immersion. That it's definitely an avenue that I think a lot of people should investigate for both the short-term effects, you know, just on how you feel that day, so your well-being, but also your health. You know, it can do lots of good things for your health in general. And you know, there is a reasonable amount of quality research, mainly out of Scandinavia, as you'd expect, particularly Finland, which shows that, you know, people who regularly experience cold temperatures, and it doesn't always have to be cold water, but that works quite efficiently, that those people live longer. And you tend to avoid the most common cause of chronic illness and eventually of death, which is cardiovascular disease. So yeah, there's so much, again, you know, we
a lot of
perhaps all
science
know.
behind it. Yeah. I
Yeah,
mean, maybe you could guide us a little bit on that, Phil. You know, there might be another future video there on some tips that you could possibly do for
yeah.
us or
No,
something like that. That'd be good, I think. But no, surprisingly, I'm enjoying them so far. I don't know if that's a novelty thing or what, but I did think, yeah, initially I thought, how am I going to do this? But there are some good reasons, which I will reveal in the video that I'm going to release. I'm not
yeah.
going to share them now, but yeah, there are some actual real reasons why I've decided to take that leap as well. All right, okay, let's move on. I know that you've kind of spoke a little bit about this, but what I want to try and do is is link your adaptive principles to and how they tie with your coaching, your triathlon coaching. How does that all work and how are they linked together?
Yeah, I mean, if you think about triathlon coaching in general, what we are doing predominantly is producing an aerobic stress to the
Mhm.
body on a
Yeah,
a daily basis, maybe even a twice daily basis. We're doing a lot of aerobic cardiovascular type training, which is essentially stressing the body out, and particularly the mitochondria, which are the small little organelles within our muscles, which actually produce our energy. They're the things that take the fat and take the glucose, and sometimes mix them with oxygen to make energy. So we're training those. Basically, we're stressing them out to
right.
a small degree so that they get fitter and stronger, and they actually proliferate, and there become more of them. And then we can function better, particularly as I've said, like aerobically. That's the key sort of system that we work as triathletes. And we don't really, a lot of people don't think of it to that level, but most of our physiology can be adapted in the same way. If we apply a little bit of stress,
Right.
the body will alter, will change, and that's called hormesis. The technical term is called hormesis, and it's basically the application of a stress that then causes an adaptive response within
Okay.
the body. So
The
if you
same
think
sort of
about,
principle, isn't it? And yeah, the stress element, applying
yeah,
that and then
yeah, and
changing
it's
that
obviously,
the body.
a triathlete is very well versed with the aerobic type of
Yeah.
stress.
Yeah.
It's the discomfort you feel on a turbo session or on a run. But again, if you think about modern life, we have engineered most forms of discomfort and most forms of stress out of it. We've got air conditioning and heated seats in the car, so we don't need to be cold in the car. Um, we've got elevators, haven't we, and escalators and lifts everywhere. We don't need to use the stairs.
Yeah.
For instance, we've got so many creature comforts, even couches and beds. We're just comfortable all the time. And I am, making sweeping statements about the general person in the general population, but from that point of view, we have to make difficult decisions now, because we've got to forgo that comfort in the short term, in the knowledge that doing something that will cause a bit of discomfort right now or today will actually do us good in the future.
Yeah,
And
long
again,
term.
that's the message. Obviously, it's the message in triathlon. That's what we do all the time. We're driven by performance, and we hope that by enduring some discomfort today and tomorrow and the day after, when it comes to perform, we'll be better, we'll be fitter.
Right.
And it is that same kind of message, but we then take that, to the cold water, to a sauna and the application of heat. We also take it to, moving in general. So resistance training, strength training, it's the
Yeah.
same. We're just
And I
using that
suppose,
little bit of stress.
yeah, and I think that kind of moves on to my next question, really, that the most triathletes, I think, they like to think they're fit and healthy. And I
Yeah.
suppose this other tangent is what's driving you to look at the other ways in which we can become more rounded. I suppose if I'm on the right lines there, I don't know if that's what you kind of mean.
Yeah. If you think about the triathlete again, if you asked anybody, are they fit? Obviously they'd look at the amount of training they do and they go, yeah, of
Yeah.
course and they're probably quite low body fat, they're quite lean, and they train a lot, blah blah. But if you look at the definition of fitness, from an adapted point of view, we're going to define like fitness as the ability to do everything that you would want to do and to interact with the world around you in the ways that you would want to. Now, that also means that we need to be strong enough, not just aerobically fit, which is very important, but we also need to be strong enough. Now, we know full well that triathletes could easily become weaker
Yeah.
because they're spending all of the hours that they can train doing more aerobic cardiovascular type exercise. So if they miss out on the strength training element, yes, they are fit in one sense of the word fit. In fact, they're probably over overly fit, they're exceeding where they need to be at that point, but they might be neglecting things like strength. And the other angle is like stability and mobility, you know, being able to well, we got your daughter to do it, didn't we? We got her to show us how to stand up on off the floor without using her hands, which is a really tricky thing.
Yeah, I couldn't do it.
No. So yeah, so it's how you defend, you know, it's how you define fitness, and in this wider market, which is not for the niche triathlon sort of person, we need to define fitness as, you know, being able to integrate yourself within society, and to be able to do any of the things that you might want to do, and not just the things you want to do now, but the things you want to do in 10 years and still be doing them, or 20 years time. Because if you can only just do, say you're age 50 now, and there's something you enjoy doing that you can only just about do, the chances are, if you don't adjust anything or try to change anything in 5 to 10 years time, that would be too difficult then.
Yeah, that's it. And that's the thing, growing old gracefully. I think that's what we want to do, isn't it? And being fit and healthy. And I think that's kind of some of the things that scare me longer term is, you know, I want to remain fit and healthy. I don't want health problems. I don't want, you know, problems later on in life. And it's not just about, I know triathlon does provide you a lot with the fitness side of things, but it is looking at other things that you can do that can, you know, aid you to get to where you want to. So
yeah,
those
and
adaptive principles, I think, fit
it's
well.
that comes down to goal setting, doesn't it, as well? So again, we, as you know, within our group, we do, if we're thinking about triathlon performance, and then we're trying to integrate some healthy living principles as well, which, you know, is kind of part of the job. We can't do a lot of heavy strength training right through the season, because you've also come to me for performance, triathlon performance. You want to be faster and fitter. And so what I'm trying to do is blend the two together, but keeping everybody updated as to why and when and how to prioritize the strength. So as you know, at this time of year, I'm really encouraging everybody to do at least two quite heavy strength sessions per week. And that's obviously to aid triathlon performance, but it's also because racing isn't on the horizon at the moment, and we can prevent injuries. We can also, you know, develop a little bit more muscle mass while the volume of training is lower, and why races are not coming up. So we can, I can, you know, try to blend the two approaches, which is what you're asking about before, by just increasing the amount of strength training right now, and, you know, asking the triathletes to just accept that they might have some DOMs, they might have some more muscle pain, but at this time of year, that's fine. Put the strength training near the top of your priority list.
Right. Yeah. It's just adapting to what it is you need at that current time. I
Yeah.
mean, that's, again, it goes back to that education and learning that as we go. All right.
Yeah.
So based on everything that we've heard, tell us a little bit how we, you know, a little bit more on how we can manipulate our lifestyle and the environment for better health, and maybe give us a few more examples of how you would integrate that with some of your triathlon clients.
So we got these within Adapted, and again, people can look to the website for a lot more sort of a lot more detail on it when they want to. But the 5 pillars include the movement one, which we've kind of talked a lot about anyway. But we've also got sleep as one of the foundational pillars. You know, there isn't one organ in the body or one system of the body that doesn't benefit from an improved quality and quantity of sleep. But obviously, as far as a triathlete is concerned, who's got a busy lifestyle already, and perhaps they're incredibly motivated to train a certain number of hours per week, or to smash a certain race, it's very common to get up early, to set that alarm clock for an extra hour or 90 minutes early, in order to either get a session done or get an extra session done.
I know that feeling.
Yeah, and I know. Yeah, you train quite a lot in the morning, particularly to get to the pool. We've seen your videos and stuff, and you know, if the rest of your life is very much in balance, so if you're not getting too much stress from work, if your family life is nice and stable, and perhaps if your training isn't too extreme, getting up, you know, maybe in every morning, but getting up a few mornings a week a little bit earlier might be a reasonable kind of, you know, sacrifice to make. But if those other things aren't in place, you know, if you're incredibly stressed at work, if you're trying to, you know, keep up with a lot of other things and juggling all these balls, actually then adding more stress by getting up extra early, it will make you feel a bit better because you've done another session. But the benefit of that, when your body is kind of crying out for sleep, could be one that you might not actually gain much fitness or any from doing that extra session. It might just be soothing your ego because you're somebody who gets up in the morning to prove to people that you go the extra mile or whatever. And I'm just there to prompt to people, yeah, great for getting up early, but do you realize you've just got up like an extra 90 minutes early 6 days in a row?
Yeah, that's going to
Maybe
have
you
a
need to lie in.
knock-on effect, doesn't it?
Yeah, yeah. So that's how we could integrate a little bit the sleep kind of the angle on it. The nature, like you said, a lot of the guys in our group now are trying the cold water stuff, and some of them probably use the sauna. We've had a few qualified for Kona, and I've given them specific protocols for the sauna for that heat
Right.
adaptation.
Okay.
Even outside of that, heat is a good stress that the body can benefit from again. And then we've got like the healthy eating, which most triathletes are quite interested in. But again, the healthy eating principles, what I've got to do for the triathlete is kind of blend in the need for immediate energy and quick release energy when they're training and when they're active, and also integrate that with what constitutes a healthy diet. Because when we're talking about healthy diet in general, we might be talking about things like fasting, sort of only eating within an eight hour window within the day, and not eating for the other 16 hours. And for a sedentary person, perhaps somebody who's even pre-diabetic, that could have a really big impact. But again, for a triathlete who's then trying to train 2 hours with an hour at threshold, we can't afford for them to become undernourished. And so while I'm trying to spread one set of advice to one type of person, I'm also then realizing that the majority of people I work with at the moment also need quite a lot of energy in their diet, and sometimes that's going to come from sports, nutrition products and the like.
Right, so what I'm going to do is just add in here, Phil, about questions for some of the viewers that they may have, anything that you've said during the video. So if you've got any comments or you want to ask anything, do drop them in the comments box below. And I'm sure we could either do some sort of follow-up video, or Phil will no doubt try and answer any of the bits in the comment section. I'll pass them over to him, or we'll do something. We'll work the magic somehow. So yeah, if you've got any questions, do drop them below, and that can be on anything: lifestyle, medicine, the biohacking, anything that we've talked about around the adaptive principles. Okay, lastly, Phil, and this one is my last question, and it is a bit of fun, and I'm going to put this on because these came out here as well. So we've got both a bit of merch. Everyone loves a bit of merch and a bit of kit. Now, as triathletes, we all, we love a bit of kit, and Phil's been working, I know you've been working behind the scenes with BioRacer, I believe, in developing a range of kit for the team. There's some really interesting ones out there. I'll put to you the Budgie Smugglers. I'll add that one in there. Tell us a little bit about the offers, and what I can do is what I'll try and do is overlay some footage that you released to us to show some of the kit that's on offer.
Yeah, so the first priority, obviously, setting up this new team was to try to get the triathlon sort of market of apparel into the shop as soon as possible. So went to BioRacer because they've got great heritage in this area, and it is quality kit. I want to choose a level of kit that people really want to wear, not only because it looks good, but we want something that feels good and hopefully lasts quite a long time as well. So BioRacer have done a good job, and some of that kit is now landed in the UK. It gets made throughout Europe, but there's still a few items of clothing outstanding. So they should be with us before Christmas, which was the plan. We went to, again, big bobble hats for the bobble hats, and we went to Bocco for these caps. So we've gone to some really good providers, so that when we do get the kit, it's really top notch. And then, as you say, if you're going to go for some speedos, if you want some and this is more, it's tongue in cheek, it's a bit of fun. I swim in speedos because I prefer them, but it's more from the cold dipping angle. It's a great community where you can just be yourself, and you can have a little bit of fun and have a little bit of a joke at yourself and the way you look. It's quite lighthearted. And so, as you know, I've been buying some Budgie Smugglers, and which have the emblem Team Bin Juice on it, which I think is quite apt. But no, I went to them to design us some bespoke ones, and they've just landed for the first 10 or so people that have ordered them, and they look really good. Yeah, they look really good as well.
I must admit, Yeah, another bonus, the budgie smugglers. I think I'm gonna have to get on those. I didn't go for them first time around, but I think I'm gonna be persuaded in the future
Yeah.
to get involved in those as well. Yeah, they are a bit of fun and, like you say, good addition to the kit.
Yeah.
Right, Phil. That's all my questions I have for you. Once again, I just want to say a massive thank you for taking the time to do this with me. I suppose the last thing I do have to ask you is, where and how do people get in contact with you? What's the best place, to get in touch? What I'll do is I'll drop your details on, or I'll overlay them on the video.
Well, as you can tell, I love to talk about this stuff. So I don't mind if anybody just wants to chat or has questions. I'm not going to try and sell them coaching or whatever, but if they do want to chat, they're very welcome. So I'm on Instagram as Phil.Ellison and Adapted for Life. So that's the Instagram handles. Okay. The new website is www.adaptedlife.co.uk. So the 4 we've had to drop for that website because it was already taken, unfortunately. So we're adaptedlife.co.uk. And then, as you know, I've got a triathlon based Facebook page as well, which is PhilellisonTri. So any of those, I tend to keep updated with various bits and bobs about triathlon and healthy living.
Right, there you have it. If you want to get in touch with Phil, you know where to go. Okay, right, I'm going to leave it there, and we will drop your promo video for your website to the end of this video. So, yeah, massive thank you, Phil. And if you're new around here, do hit the sub button. It is much appreciated. And I will see you all in the next one.
Set, back in the saddle, get ready to drop the cadence.